Hello, my name is Ev from Vincent Music. Today we'll be continuing on with our book. But before we get to our book, let's remember how to make a good sound and make sure that we start really well today before we start our pieces. So let's start by making sure our flute is set up really well. Our head joint is pulled out just a little bit. And now we're going to play the note B. So what's the fingering for our note? Hope you got it right. It is our first finger, our thumb, and our pinky. And then, when we are ready, we also want to make sure that our thumb, our other thumb, is resting right here. So underneath this key here. Then we're going to put it up to our lips. We want to make sure that a little bit of the hole is covered by our lips. Not too much, not too little. And then have the tongue at the beginning of the note, and then play. Now, whenever you're ready, give that a go a few times, make sure it's sounding really, really good. So if you need to pause to find that sound, that's okay. Alright, let's come back. Let's now do our note B again, and we're now going to go to the next note A. So to make our lives easier, when we play B, we're going to make sure our fingers are above the flute, up here. So I'm going to play A and tongue again. Make sure we have a great sound for both of those notes. Alright, lovely. That was just to get us warmed up so we make sure we have a great sound today. So let's now come to our pages. Let's come to page 17 of our book, and we're going to exercise 2. So that's got our new note in it, which is the note C. What's the fingering for C? Can you see if you have a go first? Alright, so for C, it's like B, so B is our first finger here, but we take off our thumb, right? We take off our thumb. So we want to make sure our thumb is in the air while we're playing, and we want to also make sure that our other thumb is in a good position and our fingers are all above the keys. So again with a tongue, make sure we get our C. Alright, and then when we play through exercise 2, we want to make sure that we keep our fingers above the keys the whole time, and that our thumb for the C stays in the air. And as we go through, remembering each note is nice and even until we get to our minim at the end, but otherwise it's all 4 beats. So I would like you to play it, and then we'll pause for you to play it, and then I'll play it, and you can compare and see how you went. Alright, so pause now. Alright, and now I will play it, so you remember what it should sound like as well. I'll go at an okay speed. So we want to make sure that we tongued every single note and they're all evenly spaced apart as well. If you went quite a lot slower than that, that's okay. Have a go doing it as fast as I did it. And if you did it pretty close, that's all good. So, yeah, pause if you need to practice doing it a little bit faster. Okay, now let's come to exercise 3. So this is a new exercise. We start on different note. We have a little bit of a different rhythm. So let's look at the first bar. What is our rhythm in that bar? Are all the notes the same length or are they different lengths? They're all the same length, so they're all crotchets. Now let's talk about the notes in that bar. What is the first note? The first note is G, and then what is the second note? Second note is B, and then the third note is another G, and then the fourth note is another B. So those are the first notes of that bar, and you may notice that they're not next to each other. So a lot of the other notes that we've been playing, we're only moving one finger at a time. But for here, we we have to move 2 fingers at a time. So we have to go between our G and our B. So that's lifting up both of these fingers. And we want to keep them in the air, make sure our thumb of our other hand is in a good spot. So just practice moving your fingers between those 2 notes. Now practice playing it. I'll let you pause first, and then I'll play just those 2 notes, or just that bar, that first bar. Alright, now I will play that first bar. So we tongue every single note, we make sure our thumb is in a great position, and they're all even. Now, let's look at the second bar. Is it the same rhythm as the first bar? It's a bit of a different rhythm, isn't it? So, our first note is what length of note is it? It is a crotchet. And then the second note is also a crotchet. And then what's our third note? Our third note is a minim, so that is 2 crotchets. You have the length of 2 crotchets. So, it's going to be twice as long. Now let's look about those notes. So, in the second bar, what's the first note? It is an A. And then what is the second note? It is a C. And what is our third note? It is another C. Now, let's play just that bar on its own, remembering again to have our thumb in a good position and to tongue every note and keeping our fingers above the keys, including our thumb. We need to lift it up as well. So between our A and our C, we've got to lift up both of these 2 at the same time. So pause, you have a go first. Alright, and now I will play what that would sound like. So first 2 are the same length, the second one is a bit longer. Now, I want you to pause and put those 2 bars together. So remember, the first 6 notes are all crotchets. So we want to make sure that they are the same length apart, not stopping on anywhere just because. And then we have to hold that last one for a minute. So, pause, figure it out, have a go, and then when you unpause, I will play those first 2 bars. Alright, so pause now. Alright, and now I will play those first 2 bars and compare it and see how you went. Yeah, I hope you went similarly. If not, go back and have a think. What did you do a bit differently? Remembering to tongue every note. Remember that we need to be even between that whole section. Now, let's look at the third bar. Or actually, let's look at those next 2 bars together. What do we notice about the rhythm between those second 2 bars and the first 2 bars? It is the same rhythm. So, don't have to think too hard about it. It is our 6 crotchets all in a row, and then our minim. So, now let's look about the note names, what pitch they are. So, what's our first note of the third bar? It is a C, and then the second note is an A, and then the third note is another C, and the fourth note is another A. Now we're going to go on to the next bar as well. So what's the first note of the second bar? Sorry, of the fourth bar? It is a B, and then the second note of the fourth bar is a G, and then the last note of the exercise is another G. So between our C and our A, we have to move 2 fingers, right? We have to move this finger here and our thumb. So making sure we move them nice and together, and then when we get to our B to G, make sure we move them together as well. So what I want you to do now is remember all of those notes, remembering our thumb needs to be right here, and remembering to tongue every note. So pause, have a go of putting those 2 bars together, so bars 3 and 4. Pause now. Alright, and now I will play those second 2 bars. Alright, so let's think about our first 2 bars and our second 2 bars together now. So what we're going to do is I will let you play, try and putting those 2 bars together, then I will play it, and I want you to compare those 2. Alright, so pause now. Alright, so firstly, did you remember to tongue every single note? And did you remember our thumb needs to go here? And yeah, those are our 2 important things. Yeah. So if you didn't remember to do those, have another go remembering those. And then if not, if you were absolutely great, now I'll play for you to confirm. So pause if you need to. Alright, and now I will play. So important things there, we're making sure our fingers and our tongues were all doing the right thing, but also on the minim C, so in bar 2, making sure we hold that for a minim, so that we, or taking a breath as well, so that we don't squish the 2 bars together. We need to make sure that we have da, 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 so we have that extra space where, you know, of holding the note instead of going straight on and just ignoring it and doing all crutches. So if you did all of that, well done. If not, have another go until you get it to sound sort of like mine. You can play along if you want to as well. So let's now move on to the last piece on this page, which is called Peas Pudding Hot. And we've got some new things in this. It looks a little bit different, doesn't it? So let's look at just the first note. What is our first note length, and what is the first note name of the note? The first note length is a crotchet, and the name of the note is G. Well, that's the pitch that it is. So that's easy. We've done lots of crotchet Gs before. Fabulous. Now, these next 2 notes, they look a little bit different, right? They look like crotchets, but then they've got a bar joining them together. And what that means is that they're called quavers, and they are half the length of a crotchet. So thinking about how a minim, the one that's got a circle, you know, an empty circle, and our line, that one is a minim, and that's 2 crotchets together. That is double the length of a crotchet. Now a quaver is half the length of a crotchet. So how many quavers would fit inside one crotchet? If you need to pause to think about it. It's 2 quavers fit inside one crotchet. So we're going to make sure that we're not going too fast our crotchets so that we can fit our quavers in, but we also want to make sure that our quavers are faster. We want to push ourselves to go a little bit faster. We're only moving 1 finger at a time for our quavers here today, or 0 fingers, and it's just with our tongue. So before we start moving our fingers, let's just start moving our tongues. So we're going to play G. G is a good note. We're going to play some repeated quavers, and we're going to do them at this speed. So have a go at that. Right, might be a little bit tricky, and you also might be finding it a little bit difficult to make a sound. If you are, make sure we're covering the right amount of the hole, of the embouchure hole with our lip. So making sure it's not too covered and not too uncovered. I'm going to make it just a good amount of covered, about a third. And also, if you need to take a quick break, that's also okay. Get a drink of water. That's all good. So let's now come to this first bar. So our first bar of Peas Pudding Hot, we have our crotchet G, like we said, and then we have to move our fingers quickly for our 2 quavers, which are half the length of our crotchet. So, and then our last note is a minim. So let's now think about our note pitches. So the first note, like we said, is a G, the second note? It is an A. And what's the fourth note? It is a B. So, we generally think of music at the moment in crotchet lengths. So to get our rhythm right, I'm going to click some crotchets. And so a crotchet is one click, 1 to 1. There we go. Our quavers, we need to fit 2 of them in 1 click. And then our minim, we need to hold for 2 clicks. So I'm going to do 4 clicks and have a go at saying, just with your mouth, without the flute, our crotchet, 2 quavers, and then our minim. So I'll click 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, now I will say what I think you should have said, and then, compare, see how you went. So I would go 1, 2, 3, whoops, sorry. I would have gone da, 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 is what the length of those notes would be. So, if you didn't quite get that, that's alright. Have another go, see if you can get that. And then, have a go at playing those notes with that rhythm. So, remember, we have our G, another G, an A, and a B. So, pause now, give that a go. Alright, and now I will play. So compare those two and see how you did. Now, looking at our second bar, we have, what kind of rhythm do we have? Is it the same or different as the first bar? It is the same as the first bar, but we have very different notes. So, what's our first note? It is a C. And then, what do you notice about the next 2 notes, those 2 quavers? Are they the same notes or different notes? They are the same note, and they're the same as that first note as well. So they are both Cs. All 3 of those notes, all Cs. 3 of those notes are Cs. And then, what's the fourth note of that second bar? It is a B. So, let's go through, or you're going to pause, and have a go at playing that same rhythm as we did in the first bar, but with those different notes of that second bar. So pause now. Alright, and now I will play to confirm that you got it correct. Alright, so now what we're going to do is, if you got it correct, if you didn't get it correct, that's alright, go back and have another go. So, remember we've got that rhythm 100% down. What we're going to do is we're going to go and put those 2 bars together. So it's the same rhythm twice, but we have some different notes. So remembering once again, we want to make sure our thumb is in a good position underneath this one here. And we want to make sure we are tonguing every single note and that we are covering a good amount of the embouchure hole. Not too little, not too much. A good about a third. Right, so with all that in mind and our beautiful rhythm, pause now. Alright, and now I will play and you can compare those 2. Alright. How'd you go? Was it the same or was it a bit different to what I played? Hopefully it was about the same. If not, have another go, listen to what I did, see if you can get it a bit similar. Now, let's look at our third bar. It is quite similar, isn't it, to our previous bars for the rhythm, but at least it starts that way, but then it gets a bit different, doesn't it? So, the first 3 notes are the same as the first 3 notes as the piece. It's good to find these kinds of patterns in our music. But then we get a little bit different. We have 2 more quavers and then another crotchet. On what note are they on? So this is, I'm talking about the 4th note of the 3rd bar. So what note is that? It is a B. And then the rest of that bar is also B. And then if we come to our 4th bar, what is our rhythm here? Do we have any quavers? We have no quavers. We have just crotchets and minims, which are all notes that we already knew. So let's now think about our first note of that 4th bar. What is the note length? Is that, like crotchet, quaver, minim? And what is the note name, or the pitch? So the first one is it is a crotchet on the note C. What's the second one? It is another crotchet on the note A this time. And then what's our last note of this piece? It is a crotchet on, sorry, it is a minim, it is a minim on the note G. So let's now try putting those two bars together. I want you to give it a go without, give it a go. Remember, we have our crotchet, our quaver we need to have twice as fast, just like we've been doing in those previous bars. And then our crotchets need to be nice and even, so fitting two quavers inside of them, until that end of last note, which is a minim. So have a pause now, give it a go. Alright, and now I will play those last two bars and compare, see how you went. Alright, how'd you go? Was it the same? Was it totally different? Was it almost the same, but you forgot to do one or two little things? That's alright. A whole new piece. So what you're going to do now is we're going to try and put the whole thing together. So remember our rhythm at the beginning, our notes at the beginning, remembering to tongue every single note, remembering that we want to have our thumb, the right hand thumb, in the right spot, and when you're ready, try and put the whole piece together. So pause now, and then have a go. Alright, and now I will play and compare how you went. Alright, how did you go? Was it the same? Was it almost the same? Was it totally different? Have a think about how you went, have a bit of a compare, and have a listen, see how you went, and then try again if you didn't quite get it right. And then have another go, and you'll be all good. But that is all for today. Thank you for your practicing. And so keep working on the pieces that you've been working on last week. And these new, so exercise 3 and peas pudding hot with our quavers. Remember, our quavers are half as long as our crotchets, which means we fit 2 of them inside each crotchet. So we need to move our fingers a bit faster. And happy practicing. Have fun.